What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my YouTube channel, Curious World of I, who is me, Leon, and today I want to jump back into an experience that I had about 3 years ago, which is my unintentional Kundalini spiritual awakening. And the reason I want to do this now is because since I've released that video back in 2017, it's been about a little over 3 years since I released that video. Many people have reached out to me personally through email, DMs, and even people who may know me personally have asked me in person that they would like to see kind of an update and more insight to kind of what happened after that experience. And I definitely, wanted to come to a place where I felt comfortable doing that. Now some time has gone by, so now I can look back on that experience and reflect on it and give more kind of intuitive insight to what was going on, because at that time the only thing I could do, if anybody's ever had an awakening, the only thing you really could do is just describe how you feel and what's going on. It takes some time afterwards where you look back on it and you really kind of see the lesson in it. And that's why I think the real gem in the spiritual awakening stories is what goes on between, from the actual awakening and to where we are now. And so with that being said, I really want to probably tell this story from where I left off in that video to kind of where I am now, and explain it kind of in a spiritual and personal and self-development and kind of a self-discovery journey, if you will, lens, and looking at it through like a spiritual lens, and what that experience did for me, in hopes that people can continue to take insight from it, as well as share their insight from their own personal experiences. Because one thing I did not, I could never imagine what would have happened was that video would get 18,000 views, which is what it has now, and that many comments of people sharing their experiences. And I didn't get to engage with all of them, but I definitely read pretty much all of them, and it helped me to gain more insight, because I was really grateful for the people who shared their experiences and gave their insight. And I hope that continues as I make these videos explaining kind of what happened after that experience. So if you have not seen those videos, my unintentional Kundalini spiritual awakening video, or the Dark Night of the Soul video, which is basically a spiritual depression that you have after some sort of awakening or ego death, I highly recommend you to watch those videos first. And I'll probably put all these videos in just a playlist, probably entitled like Spiritual Awakening, story time. I'm not really sure what I'm going to entitle it just yet. So with that being said, I definitely think it's important that people who have these experiences, if they would like, or if they feel courageous enough to share their experiences, is definitely to share the process. Because a lot of times you hear people have the spiritual awakening, and all of a sudden they're hitting these difficult yoga poses and meditating, but they don't fill you in on the journey, like the confusion that comes with it, the just trying to figure everything out. Everything almost feels new, kind of like you're like a newborn again, like you're like a toddler again in many different ways. So with that being said, and kind of going forward, when it comes to these videos, I really don't think that I'm gonna continue calling it a Kundalini spiritual awakening, because at that time, I did my research and it led me to Kundalini spiritual awakening, because I was trying to figure out what was going on. As I said in that video, I didn't feel like it was something mental or physical. I felt it was something more spiritual. And so I came across Kundalini energy, and I really feel like I only scratched the surface of it, because since then I've learned more about it. And so I still don't think I'm at a level to where I completely understand it enough to fully say it was a Kundalini spiritual awakening. Maybe it was. I hope maybe someday to talk to a master practitioner of Kundalini energy, or a yogi or a guru or a shaman that really knows what Kundalini energy is really all about. Because through my travels, I noticed here in America, we have a habit of taking philosophical concepts, spiritual concepts, cultural concepts, even food and cuisine, and we kind of put our own tweak on it. And it serves its purpose. Sometimes it's just to help things be more digestible for our culture. But sometimes in doing that, and then you go to the origin of where these ideas and things come from, you start talking to people who really know what they're talking about, and they come from the culture in which these ideas came from, and you realize, like, the way I interpret it is not really how they really interpret it, and these sorts of things. And also, when you're reading and learning about things from the internet, it's also being filtered through your own cultural lens. It's being filtered through your own experiences. And so, just for I wouldn't even say safety, but just it just resonates with me more just to call it a spiritual awakening, because that's 100% what it was for me. But to call it a Kundalini spiritual awakening, I'm not sure. Maybe somebody will watch this video who really knows more about Kundalini energy could continue to elaborate, especially as I'm learning about these sorts of things. So for now, I'm just going to continuously call it a spiritual awakening, because during that time I had a lot of things that were going on during that year. 2017 was a very pivotal year for me in terms of just the experiences that I was having. I mean, it was pivotal in a spiritual sense, mental, emotional, and even physical, which I believe led to the spiritual awakening. So now going forward and kind of kick-starting this series off, if you will, of me sharing my spiritual awakening. As I said, I really want to go back to where I left off in that video and bring you to current day. Because one thing I can say as we get into this story is that having a spiritual awakening, it really opens you up and deepens your sensory level to really experience life in a new way in which you didn't experience it before, because you're kind of trapped in who you tell yourself that you are, which kind of isolates you sometimes, especially if you say, oh, I'm this kind of person, so I don't do those sort of things, or I don't hang out with those sort of people. And then you realize that you're potentially missing something that could be very vital to you in your own self-discovery journey, right? And so with that, it really opened me up for the experiences that I was going to have after May of 2017, when I had this awakening, for me going to my first huge music festival, Bonnaroo, to graduate in college and all the things that goes on in a young person's mind after they finish university, to me losing my mother, through me trying to pick myself up back after that and put myself back together, to me having my gap year. And I'm really thankful that I had that spiritual awakening before I had those experiences, because it allowed me to see it from a different lens that I think I wouldn't have looked at it if it wasn't for that experience. I hope that makes sense. And so, because having a spiritual awakening is kind of like, in this age, we get everything at our doorstep in a few days. It's like you randomly get a package on your doorstep, and it's full of glasses and lenses, and basically you get to try them all on, and the ones that you like, you keep, and you pay for it, and you send them back. But also with the spiritual awakening, they send back that same package with those lenses you said you didn't want, and they're like, nah, you need these too. And so eventually you try those on too, and you learn to accept them and surrender to the perceptions and feelings that come with each time you change that frequency, basically changing those lenses in the way in which you see the world. And so, so I really hope you guys will enjoy this series of me kind of going back over what happened after the spiritual awakening, how I began to develop, and how my perceptions of things really began to change through my experiences and so forth. And hope that you can pull some insight from it. And I'm really looking forward to also the comments. So if you guys have the same experiences, please, comment, because I do definitely read those comments, and it helps me out on my journey as well too, because all this is a two-way street. None of us really know more than the other. We're all geniuses in our own way. We're all professors in our own way. I recently came across a concept that, you know, in life you're either a student or a teacher at all times, through all people that you meet. So I hope you guys enjoyed this series, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. So go ahead and subscribe if you haven't already subscribed, and yeah, we'll talk soon. Peace.